we make so much about the offseason. We see PFF, the grades. We see ESPN, the grades. We see my 33rd team, the grades. Shout out to Ermanni, big fan and brother of the show. We see these things and we get excited, but there are still real questions. Why did DJ Reader not get the deal in Cincinnati? Why did Davenport not get the deal in Minnesota and stay there? Are we going to be okay with Emmanuel Mosley, who got injured last year, and we gave him another contract to come on this year? There are still some real good questions that we want to see answered. We believe that this is the team. We believe that they answered those needs in the right way. But this is football. Just like we got better, everybody else got better, and we got to see if those moves really pan out. So I'm excited, very optimistic, but I do think they got better.
Last year you had leaks, right? You had leaks in the secondary, which led to the quarterback not getting knocked on his rear end, okay? Dan Campbell spoke about this team. Yesterday he spoke about the secondary, how they're new, how he doesn't even know how to put a lineup together. Check this out.
It's a great place to be in. We have so many options right now, so much competitiveness. AG and we're talking about it again. AG and I were the other day. And Brad and I are talking about it every evening. I mean, it's like, the talent level, the competitiveness, the versatility. Like, honestly, we have no idea who our starting lineup's going to be right now, and it's exciting. It's so good. Like, there's no telling who's going to be our outside corners, who's going to be our nickel, who's going to be our safeties. I mean, This thing is wide open across the board, and it's going to be great to let these guys compete and just go after it and see who goes and is going to be the most reliable guys for us, most dependable. So it's exciting.
Ryan, we talked about this team as they start to get better. You said this, and that's why I want to throw it right to you. You said once they were 9-8, hey, we're going to have to face the facts. This is becoming a good team. Some good players aren't going to make this roster. We're not going to be able to have all the good players stay on the team because we got better players. And that's exactly what's going on. That's exactly what Dan Campbell was talking about. And look, it's an open roster because if you look at our roster, we got some talent. We got some talent.
One of the jobs of any coach is to figure out how to get the most amount of talented players on the field at one time. You have a ton of talent on that defensive backfield now with the 2 draft picks first and foremost. And we won't even, Terry and Arnold and Ennis Rakestraw. Them aside, then you've got Brian Branch from a year ago. Then you've got Carlton Davis and Amik Robertson. You've got 5 players. Don't forget about Kirby Joseph. That's 6.
I forgot about him.
Melifonwu, fine, but that's 7. I'm just going to go forget about Melifonwu for a second. Just 1 second. And look at those 6 players that I just named. And Melifonwu wasn't even one of them. If you want to add him, 7 players. How many of those guys can you get on the field at one time?
I don't know.
And how often can you rotate? And then you have to consider the type of player that those individuals are.
Yeah.
Those are team guys, not me guys. Those players came here with a willingness to compete. Those players understand when they come here, they are going to compete for time. They're not going to be given anything. And I do think it takes a special athlete. It takes a special player to understand that part of it too, and not be some malcontent and not yell at the coaches and not demand this, demand that. The coach is literally telling you, I'm open, guys. You sort it out. I'm not going to sort anything out. You sort it out. And I think it takes a special player to do that.
The thing I love about it is it's led by a special guy, and that guy is Aaron Glenn. Aaron Glenn, we saw what he was able to do in his NFL career. He was a tremendous player. He was a Pro Bowl type player, but he's a guy that sold out for the team. Sold out consistently for his team, make sure his team had everything they needed out of him. And I think that's what that's the energy that these players pick up on. The good thing that's going to happen, though, Ryan and Monty, right now, you got a bunch of guys that are, for the team, and, it's the collective. It's whatever I can do. I want to get on the field whatever way you need me to be so that I can make the play for this defense or this offense. But stars are going to start to rise to the forefront. You need stars to win in this league. And what I mean by that, you got to have that star attitude. You got to have that ego a little bit. I don't care if you're a team guy. You still got to have that confidence where you're like, shoot, they give me the ball. I know it's on and popping. Or Put me in the game. Who's balling on offense? What wide receiver? Put me on him. I got something for him this week. Much like you saw Stephon Gilmore do to A.J. Brown last year. You got to have guys that had that confidence. And out of this competition in the spring, in the summer, and eventually the fall, you'll start to see what guys ascend to the top of that list. It's great to have team guys. It's great to have everybody play together. But eventually somebody has to take over. Much like Amon-Ra St. Brown did. You realize that what? He's not just a wide receiver on the team. He's a superstar. I think that's what's going to happen in the secondary and his defense. Outside of Aiden Hutchinson, you'll start to see a couple superstars emerge from this team.
Hey, I was a big fan last year of CJ GJ. They went out and got him. And he got hurt in game 2. And you really don't know what he could have brought to this team. He did bring a swagger to this team. It kind of wore thin at the end of the year, especially in the NFC Championship game when he got up on the bench and started, raking with the 49er fans. But that all said, he is gone. They brought a guy in from the Oakland Raiders, from the Vegas Raiders. The little guy.
Robertson.
His name is Amik Robertson. I'm going to tell you about this guy. This guy he's got a heart of a lion. If you've seen any video on this guy, any tape on this guy, he's going to be a favorite of the Lions. And I'm going to tell you right now, he is going to start. Here's Dan Campbell on Amik Robertson.
You just said, I don't care if he's inside or outside, the guy competes. I mean, he is a feisty, competitive, challenging corner who has versatility to play in and out. And so, yeah, that's always going to appeal to us. The more flexibility you have in and out is always going to, because you can do more jobs, right? It's easier to get you to the game. But the first thing that pops off the tape is how much he challenges and competes. I mean, there was no denying that. So we knew he'd fit right in here with us.
This guy is something, man. He sticks up for the team.
Yeah.
Name a guy on any of your teams that you, even back in Michigan all the way through the pros, you have that one guy that would go and stick up. Like what Caitlin Clark needs on her team, this guy is that guy.
It's funny, and as you were talking about CJ last year, came in, Maz, he was your guy. He was the guy you wanted in free agency. We don't know what he could have been because of injuries and because of how when he came back, how it played out. But you always take a little bit from certain individuals or a certain thing. When you have a failed relationship, you don't look at everything that failed in the relationship. What worked in the relationship?
Yeah.
Let me add this to
It was
my
always
next.
good times.
100%. Let me add this to the next relationship, and maybe let me not add this other stuff. I think what you saw at CJ was that swag, that energy, having each other's back, not backing down from anybody. These are good things for the Lions to hold on to on that defense. And I think Amik Robertson coming on, when he got picked up, like I started watching some film because he was a short guy. You start watching film. He backs up this stuff that he talks about. He is in every play. He plays bigger than he is. He has no fear. And I think that's what CJ had. Now, I'm not saying he's a replacement for CJ but in the fact that he has no fear, people gravitate towards certain energy, and you start adding it into your repertoire and what you are. You see guys are fearless that are next to you. Well, what am I scared of? What am I overly thinking? I need to be fearless like this guy is. When you're fearless, it doesn't say you don't make mistakes, but you don't make many of them because you come back again and again and again. You deal with adversity.
Look at the Legion of Boom that you played with.
Now they were
Earl Thomas, and you got Richard Sherman. Richard Sherman made his name.
Cam Chancellor.
Yeah,
Bobby Wagner.
In your face. In your face.
But you know what? The thing that I see in them and I see in the Lions, now I want to see this fully in the secondary, is they held each other accountable. They could talk to each other a certain type of way, and it wasn't, there's beef between Earl and Richard Sherman. There were plenty of arguments between Earl and Richard Sherman. Cam Chancellor, they got into it. They will hold each other accountable, though. Maxwell, the DB on the other side, or Jeremy Ivy on the other side. Hold each other accountable. Make sure you're getting the best out of each other. When you do that, you play to the best of your ability. And I think that's what a guy like Amik Robertson can bring to the table is, look, I'm going to hold you accountable, much like we thought CJ would be.
Mentioned 7 defensive backs. A couple of guys in the chat said, what about Vildor and Emmanuel Mosley?
Vildor. And Mosley.
But again, there's 9 guys right there, which I think if you would have had 4 of them, you'd feel like you were in a good spot. You got 9.
Yeah. Oh man!
Pick any 4 of those 9 guys, and any Lions fan would say we're in a decent spot back there. But you got 9 of those players. That's pretty darn good. That's a strength of this team, and you can never have enough defensive backs.
It's amazing. I mean, where they've come from. It's remarkable. They come from, unfortunately, a failed number 1 pick out of Ohio State that they were putting the weight of the world on his shoulders.
And again, though, this is now up to Aaron Glenn and Dan Campbell and them to figure out, how to use these guys, how to best utilize these guys
together.
And one of the things about that Dan Campbell soundbite, I'm not sure anybody caught this, but Dan Campbell was like, "Yeah, I talked to AG about that a few days ago, and I talk to Ben every night."
Exactly. No, I caught that.
You know? It's like
it's like when you tell me,
right?
It's like when you guys send me something to put on the rundown, and it's already on the rundown. It's basically the same thing.
I don't.
Ryan's like, "Hey, I sent you that." I'm like, "Yeah, it's been on for 2 days. It's been on the rundown."
I send you stuff off of Instagram.
That's a problem.
So I know I'm not double sending things. That's all. But that's how it is though. You love your side of the ball. Like, look, when I was in New England, I'm not New England. I never was there. When I was with New York with the Jets, Rex never came to the offensive meetings. I'm not sure Rex and Brian Schottenheimer even talked that much, but Rex was always next to Mike Pett, and those guys were like this because Rex is a defensive guy. That's how NFL coaches are, man. Like they hire the one.
So funny.
They're like, look, if I'm an offensive guy, look, I'm gonna hire a defensive guy that I trust. Hey, look, go do your thing. And that's what he did in Aaron Glenn. Aaron Glenn is a former teammate. He's also a brother in arms in the NFL. So he trusts him and he lets him do his thing.
And how far ahead the Detroit Lions are right now, not only with their head coach, there's a bunch of teams that have the same head coach. This team virtually has the same exact coaching staff for 4 years now, virtually. Not really, but they do have the same coordinators for
all of them
now. Outside of
Aubrey
Anthony Lynn
and Aubrey Pleasant.
And Aubrey Pleasant. This is a coaching staff.
And Dre Bly last year.
Yeah, I mean, there have been additions.
Right.
But what I'm saying is the majority of these coaches have been together this is their 4th year.
And now you're adding Terrell Williams in.
Absolutely.
The right-hand man of Mike Vrabel all those years and Dan Campbell's friend. He's going to coach that D-line. Look out, man.
Just how far ahead you can be as an organization on the field when you have this amount of consistency off of it.
Yeah, and don't sleep on who they brought in the DB. They brought in Deshae Townsend, the guy that played for years in this league, at a high level for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Sometimes you have to vet the process, and the DB position is one of those positions that it seems like each year we're having to bring a different guy in and figure it out. But what has Dan Campbell done? He's brought a different guy in to figure it out. This time they got Deshae Townsend. I've known him since the Jerome Bettis camp back in the day, Ryan Ermanni, when he used to do it in the early 90s here in Detroit at Highland Park. So Deshae's a guy I know personally, but on the field, he was that deal as well. So I'm excited to see what this secondary could be under new leadership and how they respond to Deshae Townsend, someone with a heavy resume.
Can we play already?